Am I recording? Yes, I am. Okay. Hello, everybody. Lambda Man here, and welcome back to the Raintime. I haven't played this in a little bit. Um, actually, yeah, I have. I didn't even think about that. I live streamed it like 3 days ago. Okay, anyway. You all know what's happening if you've watched the last couple episodes. Um, not sure I do. Yeah, I forgot where we were, honestly. Anyway, moving on. For the fishermen, the damming of the inland sea, brought about a great changes. Why is it not changing? Oh, there we go. The precarious ecosystem of brackish water went in decline, and gradually all the herring and haddock disappeared from the lake. Some fishermen rigged their ships to make the journey through the great floodgates out onto the ocean. But for the others, a time of dire poverty commenced, as the lake filled with sweet water. The sea gradually poured from their veins. Many gave up. They took on manual jobs on the mainland or settled on the reclaimed land, where the acres were still plenty. But the fishing towns they left behind fell into disrepair. 3 of the villages were rendered completely landlocked, incorporated by the polder. It was a surreal sight, a fishing town with harbor and all in the middle of sprawling farmland. The village of Warrington, which was the most beautiful of the 3, was made into an open-air museum. The other 2 villages dwindled quickly, and when the last graybeards died in the mid-60s, the government decided to close them down. A few of the most beautiful houses were demolished brick by brick, transferred to the museum village. Hold on 2 seconds, guys. I'm just gonna mute server. Sorry, one of my friends is asking if I can get on right now, and I'm like, no, because I'm recording this. You should have gotten there faster. A bunch of developers bought up the wooden buildings that made up the iconic waterfront of Horner Dam and moved them, bit by bit, to the... You can read, Jack, you can read. To the harbor of Brummersburg, where they were sold as rustic studios. The illusion works from up close, the wooden house gracing the harbor with a historic veneer. But from afar, painted beams clash with the immense high-rises that loom out from behind them. Even with the sun shining low, the lake beating aggressively against the concrete embankment, there remains something instinctively macabre about the houses. Without the salty air, the clamor of fishwives, the sight of the returning cutter boats, they're no more than dried corpses blowing in the wind. Back to real life? Question mark. East of the harbor, there's a patch of makeshift dunes that stretches almost all the way to Abbotsford. In order to give it back to nature, City Council has decided to let the grass flow freely here, and no longer clear away the fallen trees. There's something about girls like Evelyn that robs them of their youth. They're kids at first, then mothers, but never in between. Like they've completely skipped that unique period of restless turmoil that follows childhood and ends only after reason has completely enslaved the human mind. But it's precisely this transition that drives mankind to its greatest heights. When you set off to walk the stars and send your mind towards the outer limits of consciousness, it's usually women that lack it. They become so responsible, so mature, so soon. But it's always a frightened maturity, as though they're trying to distract themselves. It must be their weak physique, their soft flesh, that instills them with a fear of the surreal. The path climbs, and when I'm halfway up the dune, I see 2 hikers coming in my direction. They're the first people I've encountered here. Bremersburg is mostly sheltering at home. Now the rain is in the forecast. It's a couple, somewhere in their 50s, very concentrated on their descent. I'm wondering if I should say hello to them. No, you just keep walking. You don't need to say anything. They pass. The man, gray goatee, short, sweaty legs, winks at me. I look over my shoulder. They seem to be having trouble with the last part of the dune, but when they've cleared the dune, they suddenly accelerate. It's crazy to see them take off so quickly. Well, They freaking like got uh, jet boosters. I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, I did lose my train of thought. Thank you for saying that. It's always a shame when you bump into other people on a walk. What's the point of having nature if you can't even be alone in it? But then, actually, this isn't nature. It's the city. In the same sense that the village is the city and the fields around it. If you're free to determine everything, it no longer matters where you go. Perhaps the highway is the only real nature left on this island. It's dangerous. People die there all the time. No one dares cross it on foot. It's like a river filled with poisonous fish, an unbridgeable gap in the landscape, the vein of a beast that has grown superhuman. The dirt road that I'm following bends off towards the coast and then runs along the embankment for a while. I'm looking out over the lake and sky. The lake smells. Dark clouds are slowly drifting inland. It's starting to rain, exactly as predicted. In the distance I can faintly discern the white glow of a wind farm. 200 turbines have been built on the water in a perfect grid patterns. On clear days they stand stately against the blue sky, and the precision in which their blades turn round is mesmerizing to behold. And I think back to the windmill I encountered 2 weeks ago during that dreadful night, the taste of which still lingers in my mouth sometimes. What had I been so afraid of? The immense shape of the machine? The icy ringing of those magnificent blades which appeared to cut a groove through the night? There's something odd about those things, their snow-white hue and faceless features. They seem all too alien in their appearance. Mankind won't get away with erecting idols like that. It's growing darker. Circles are appearing in water, and even with great effort, it's difficult to distinguish the turbines in the distance. The fresh scent of leaves blows toward me and mixes with the fragrance that comes from the lake. The sickening air of decomposing fish. Why does your lake smell like decomposing fish? What did you... I don't like that. Okay. This was meant to be sea. It can't be... It's supposed to smell of brine out here. If it's a... Is it a lake or a sea? I don't understand, dude. Drizzling rain, but there's a rhythm as it falls. And as I pass the apartment building after apartment building, the individual drops begin to grow in size. They're falling slower now, tapping down on me, almost one by one. Suddenly I grow aware of every drop of water that hits me. On my sleeve, my neck, my shoes, my face. A droplet falls onto my upper lip, and I stick out my tongue to catch it. The rainwater and saliva form a mixture that slowly seeps into my throat. A clear taste fills my mouth. And there's something going on with the apartment complex that I'm passing by. The building itself is simple in design, a white block with colored panels below the windows. The central staircases are visible behind a wall of frosted glass, but because the lights are out, they're shrouded in deep darkness. Around the base of the building, a structure has been built, a wide rectangular annex of light brown stone. Okay, so if you guys are wondering why I'm not really commenting on anything so far, it's because all that's been happening at the immediate moment has been just descriptions. So, hit the like and subscribe button for me reading. Don't worry, there'll be a reason eventually. It's simple people that live here, with lots of things to store. They aren't people that you talk to. All they do is have children. And then they die. I shudder and try to cling frantically to a thought that I have stored somewhere. It's a lonely thought that has been emerging quite recently. Something that distinguishes me from the kind of people that live in these apartments. It's after I've looked at the building a little longer that I see that the proportions aren't quite right. The broad base structure emphasizes the height of the tower, giving it a strangely monolithic luster. Makes the concrete appear much more massive than it actually is, as if it continues on deep into the core of the complex, and the windows and the stairwells look like they're just painted on as camouflage. That'd be something to have a building that's entirely just like painted and like camouflaged and stuff. And then I realized that terrible things must happen behind those windows, things that shouldn't see the light of day, that make the greatest crime pale in comparison. Things that should be entirely reversed. What are you talking of? Talking of? No. What do you mean? Guys, I promise I speak English. I promise. I am American. Oh. Table for one, I call out as I pass through the door. The waiter, tall in a scarlet vest, is sitting at the bar. His massive forehead is adorned with dark brown curls that add a boyish charm to his immense stature. Yeah, look at me. I got, like, dark brown curls. Yeah, yep. Massive forehead, like, freaking. Here we go. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. My camera's way up there, so I don't know. And then obviously we can't forget about my immense structure. Okay. Or stature, not structure. Ugh. Just pick a table, he replies with a sob in his voice. He doesn't even get up from his stool. Why is he crying? It doesn't smell like food in here at all. There's just a strange metallic odor. I see I'm one of the first guests of the evening. That's why the waiter's so lazy. I pick a table from where I don't have a view of him. The furniture here is black and angular. The wall is illuminated in a colorful gradient. I like that. There's a 50s revival napkin holder on my table and a small salt shaker. Salt shaker? I pick up the shaker. It's a little glass cylinder closed off at the top with a metal sprinkler cap. I hate those things, okay? Every time I try to use one, they always get clogged. Every time. And then you gotta take like a little toothpick or something that's small enough and you gotta jam it down in there and it's like, it's just not worth it. You need something bigger. I weigh it in my hand for a bit. It fits snugly in my palm, feeling slightly heavier than it looks. Footsteps beside me. Quickly, I put the shaker back in place. The menu. Can I get you something to drink? And while the waiter's standing there waiting for a reply, I eye his impressive form. What the heck? Okay, you don't eye people's forms. That's kind of weird, dude. He's a giant looking down at on my table from tremendous heights. His jacket and vest appear almost whimsical on his gargantuan physique. He's starting to glare impatiently. I'll have a glass of the Red House wine, I decide quickly. Fine. He leaves for the bar and returns 2 minutes later with my order. It's a small glass, ridiculously small even in his hands. He's filled it to the brim. That's not how you fill wine. You fill it like just under halfway. I'm browsing through the pizza menu. It's the same Italian words chalked up in modern typeface that return time after time in varying formulas. My pocket vibrates. Abruptly, I slam down the menu and pull out my phone. But the screen's black. It's lying motionless in my hand. Must be my imagination playing games with me. No, that shit happens. Okay? You'll just have like your phone in your pocket and you'll just be sitting there and then all of a sudden you hear and then you pull your phone out and there's no notifications at all. Nothing. That happens to me every day. It's strange how something like a phone can become an extension of your nervous system. No, it's not an extension of my nervous system because it happens every day and I know it because what happens is it rubs up against your pocket weird and creates a little like a kind of like a weird rubbing feeling that feels like a buzz. I look around to see if anyone has noticed my screw up, but it's still quiet in the restaurant. As I read further through the menu, I can feel my appetite decaying. Napolitana. I think of the lake and become nauseous again. Quickly, I divert my attention towards a little jar of salt. It's standing there so clinically on the black table, filled at the top, lid wiped clean. It's as if the waiter removes the shaker after each guest to replace it with a new one. How many of these things does he keep back there? Probably a lot. I grab the jar to study it again. It's coarsely built, but it looks brand new. A vertical seam runs over the glassware from top to bottom where the two halves have been spliced together. I slide my finger all the way along the seam. And then, underneath, I feel something rough. It's probably the, what are those things called where they, like, mark it with their company name and all that? I don't remember. Maybe a brand name or a batch number. Yep, okay. I press my finger firmly over the sprinkler hole so that I can safely turn the jar around. And there on the bottom I see a splash of dried tomato. Oh. don't like that. No. It's a minuscule dot, almost lost in the shimmer of translucent glass. I turn over the shaker again and hold it above me so that I can take a closer look. The dark red speck contrasts clearly against the white salt now. Suddenly the jar is no longer soulless, mass object that I thought it was. It has become human in my hands. Everything as desired, I hear. Something wrong with the salt, perhaps? I startle, then I turn around and smile. No, nothing. Everything's okay. You can order now. I open my menu and start browsing through it quickly. Haven't you made a decision yet? The waiter asks. No, it's fine. The Napolitana, please. I answer thoughtlessly. I change my mind immediately. Wait. What? Never mind. Never mind what? The waiter sighs as he heads towards the kitchen. As soon as he's gone, I turn over the salt shaker again and throw myself upon the stain, grains rolling over the tabletop. Huh? Slowly the restaurant fills up. I saw those people appear from nowhere. A small company of friends takes the table next to me. 2 men and a young woman. Reflexively, I put the jar back in its place. The men are in their late 30s, rough looks. The larger of the two is sitting beside the girl. He's talking loudly. She's laughing, a look of anticipation in her eyes. And what's she anticipating? They order a bottle of the Chablis, the most expensive wine on the menu, at $32.50. That's, I thought about it. That's really not that expensive of a wine. The men argue over who's allowed to sample, and the big one wins. With a disgusted look on his face, he sloshes a slip of wine through his mouth. Damn! That's revolting! He cries out after swallowing. The other guy is in stitches. Just kidding. It's fine. We'll have it. Without realizing, I began furiously scratching the inside of my pocket. What? You scratch... Okay, just move on, Jack. The smell of food grows stronger. Heat's accumulating inside of me. Can't find its way out. I've stopped caring about the people at the other table, and I pick up the jar of salt again. The refreshing coolness of the glass trinket fills me with new confidence. As I'm sitting there, an inexplicable urge arises in me to rise up with a loud cry and hurl the little salt shaker against the wall of the restaurant. I'm going to get some water because speaking is hard. Just above the table where they're sitting, so that they're showered by salt and broken glass. I can clearly picture the fearful looks in their eyes, the girl scared to death, the small guy startled, and the big one with a spastic, stupid grin on his face. And a tingling sense of triumph starts to bubble through my limbs. I break out in sweat and clench the jar firmly in my fist as it gives me strength. The glass between my fingers is fogged up completely. You fogged up a salt shaker? Damn, dude. It's a serious grip you got there. The food comes. The pizza has a soggy bottom. Cut off a few pieces from the edge and toy around with the center, stirring it into an orange sludge. And after some time, the stench arises to my nostrils. I'm convinced that I'm poisoning myself. As an excuse to hold the shaker again, I scatter some salt over the orange goo on my plate. My eyes return to the little smudge underneath. I try to wipe it off with my napkin, but only fingerprints disappear from the glass. I place it back, cleaned thoroughly of all but its stain, in the exact same spot where it stood first. Only I know of her little secret. The company next to me is waiting on the food. Their bottle is already 2/3 empty, and their conversation has run dry a few times. The big guy, visually intoxicated, is trying to come up with topics of conversation, but he finds little support from his companions. The girl looks bored. Yep, that's what happens. You don't talk? Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if you don't talk, you can usually just let them talk. They talk enough. Well, okay. I should probably rephrase that, because that sounds very bad. I'm not saying... you guys know what I mean. You know what I mean. That guy over there got his already, he comments, pointing at my table with a voice so loud the whole restaurant can hear him. Though I haven't turned around yet, I can picture them staring in my direction. Please stop, I whisper out. You're making me feel uncomfortable. The girl lets out an inaudible giggle. You hear that? He feels uncomfortable, the big guy grunts out. His reaction disappoints me. Even now there's a stupid grin on his face. I clench the shaker tightly in my hand, waiting for the right moment to strike. I stare him down, and when our eyes meet, I detect an ape-like attribute in his expression that scares me a little. They're slick, these people, in ways that make everything you say comes back to you in its lowest form. That girl's laughing at him. She probably wants to be fucked tonight. This is the world we live in. I grin and raise my glass to her. You You want to be fucked tonight, don't you? Oh my gosh. Though I try my best to pay no attention to the reaction at the other table, I can hear the voices grow silent. Their deformed people only laugh at their own jokes. An unmistakable schism is beginning to emerge within the human race, when for thousands and thousands of years on end, stupid breeds stupid and smart breeds smart. It's inevitable that fundamental shifts will eventually take place. Wait, what? I want to know what they said. I fish a 20 from my wallet and put it down on the table. On my way to the exit, I could feel a little jar of salt pressing up against my chest in a consoling manner. Manner. What is wrong with me tonight? You want to be fucked, don't you? Dude, what the heck was that? What the heck is on my arm here? I guess I burned myself. 3 tickets to Mother Band. Are you going to? Lars asks, just before the noise-passing fireworks that makes all conversation impossible in Matt's spacious penthouse apartment. It's early in the evening. I'm still waiting to get paid, Evelyn replies. Really hope it's not sold out by then. Anyway, I think some of Dean's friends will be joining us later. Robert, Spencer. She pauses and casts a sly glance in my direction. Isabel, she continues. Are they coming here tonight? Lars asks. I haven't spoken to Lars for a long time, and I feel uncomfortable standing next to my old friend. Hey. I don't think so, Matt replies. I've kept things small. At midnight, we can go to the city, do some partying, no worries. I know I won't be in the mood to do some partying later on. A firecracker ignites down the streets and the room is filled with the noise of machine gun fire. I'm skiing when they play, Molly shouts over the sound. Too bad, but cool that you're going, Evelyn shouts back. It's France this year, right? The girls move over to the sofa. The bell rings, and 3 minutes later, Bernard comes in with a sweaty face from climbing the stairs. Top of the morning to you, laddie. Oh. Top of the morning to y'all, he calls out in a fake southern accent. Matt laughs. Bernard produces a few bottles of liquor from his bag and sets them out in an exaggerated manner. Most are expensive whiskeys, half full. There's also an unopened bottle of Old Gull among them. Gosh darn, what a racket outside, Bernard continues, same accent. Y'all can probably do a little something against the shock. Told you it was a nice place, Lars comments to me, eyes sparkling. Daddy's on the board of directors. Spasms of revulsion press down upon my eyes, and I take 2 sips of my beer. The fluid has an unmistakable medicinal aftertaste. I heard about your one-on-one with Evelyn. How are you doing now? Great. It was a great talk. Thanks. So I've been busy, I add. Doing what? Lars asks. The beer's strange taste lingers in my mouth, souring my saliva. I want to spit it out, but there's no place to do so gracefully, so I flush it away with a new sip of beer. The cycle repeats itself. Studying. I want to complete the year after all. Das hört mich wirklich gut an, Lars exclaims cheerfully, like he really believes it. I don't speak German. You must have a lot to do by then. How many lectures have you missed? All of them, I say absent-mindedly, but I'll be fine. Elfried says I'm a natural. Unnatural? That's what she said. He chuckles. Oh my gosh. I feel obliged to ask him something about his academic pursuits in return, but I know he's doing fine, and to be honest, I really stopped caring all that much. Studies are easier to follow than flunk. Path of least resistance. I take a large swig of my beer and put the rest aside. I think we're going anywhere, I ask him. I mean, along the path we've chosen. Lars answers immediately without even asking for clarification. No doubt, William. You always end up somewhere. He leaves for the fridge. Bye, Lars. I remain for a moment and cast my gaze over the bottles that Bernard brought along. No beer for me anymore, I call Lars, not really expecting him to return to the conversation anyway. Good idea, William, Matt calls from the other side of the room. A bunch of students have arrived, most of whom I don't even know. Matt's putting on a show. Molly and Evelyn are still talking. Bernard is browsing through a book. I bend over the whiskeys, looking around at Bernard, who's giving me a thumbs up, and proceed to pour myself a large glass from the bottle that has an enticing golden glow over it. With my back to the room, I thirstily drink away all the remnants of the terrible beer. Bernard seems lonely. You brought a splendid collection, I compliment him, unimpressed. He looks up from his books. I started working at a bar where they do tastings. They'll let me take the remaining bottles home with me. You should see my room. Dream job. Which one did you pick? He asks. The Buna Bane 16. Bunabane. The Glenmore. Oh my gosh. The Glenmorangie 12. Nice tones. Not too complex. That's a good one for beginners. You should try out the Lap. Too complex. That's a good one for beginners. You should try the Lafrug Quarter Cask. Never tasted something so divine. I'm starting to get annoyed, but decide to sit down next to him, even if it's just to avoid having to see his pedantic head looking up at me. I know that one, numbnuts. Apples and oranges. So, Mr. Alcoholic knows his whiskeys, and to think I'd actually brought the bottle of Old Gold for you. Get Korsakov's. Firebomb explodes just outside the window. Bernard jumps up melodramatically. Fireworks, a pagan tradition, he murmurs while browsing through his book. Costs us billions a year and only causes bodily harm. The masses need to choose for themselves how many fingers they retain, I reply. Matt comes by to announce that the pizzas are here. Yeah, pizza, pizza, pizza party, pizza party, pizza party. Okay. Perfect bottom. That is what he said? Yeah? Okay. A guy I don't know is holding an endless diatribe on sublimity within the music of Mozart. He keeps exciting himself to tears over the most ordinary things in the world. It's embarrassing to listen to. Lars is trying to interject his stupid opinion into the discussion, but he's prattling, also substantiating his naive views with nothing more than an anecdote or two. I promise myself I'll get to be alone for a very long time when the new year comes. As the evening progresses, the intensity of the fireworks slowly recede. I'm browsing the book that Bernard was reading. It's about Italian architecture, and it's actually far too interesting to be in Matt's collection. But then again, it looks unread. Jasmine. I know I heard it correctly. I focus on the sound of their voices. Evelyn is talking to the annoying students with Matt and Lars. They're talking about me. I'm trying my best to avert the wave of discomfort that washes over me. I should be far beyond these vulgar feelings of shame by now. And all my worries fall short of the timeless beauty in the facades of the Plaza Navona. I pull myself together. One of the Umberto Botticelli's villas is worth more than 1 million of these penthouses combined, but I'm disgusted with myself. I'm becoming Bernard. They erupt in laughter. I try to shut myself off from the sounds. I'm looking at my friends with the eyes of an outsider. They're so chubby, so ignorant. Sex, beer, and rock and roll. The legacy of their student days. While that is an important time we're living in, an indescribable time. Half past 11 to the square, Mask calls out. His proposal is supported reluctantly. I'm first at the door. Clouds of gunpowder shroud the streets of Bremersburg, thickening as we approach the square. In the shopping street, we merge into the constant stream of humans, and we file onwards at an equal pace with the hundreds that walk before us. It's a rock-fast tempo without any leeway. I divert my gaze past a tapestry of washed-out sports jackets and unbuttoned puffer coats to a rancid crust of gel that's sticking to the neck of the guy walking before me. A small group pushes through in the opposite direction. I see a girl bleached blonde and a fat girl, 6 guys with stubble, beards, eyes aimed forwards. But not everywhere. An old woman's looking on her phone. I stumble, but Lars catches me by the shoulder. The sound of explosions swells in the distance. I see 2 plump women with bare arms, British tourists, green hair, crazy suits, some kids, more gel. A man with short hair, a man with short brown hair, 4 young blacks, necktie, 2 men, 2 girls, one smiling. One of them was smiling. There's a buzzing of voices all around me, though no one appears to be talking. 10 feet away, a streamer explodes. I look around and see Matt laughing, a fat girl, bald guy, 2 more blacks, girl with black hair, breast trembling. They all have the same gloomy expressions on their face. Matt looks just as stupid as the rest of them. Bernard, too. Poser. Dang. Getting judgy over here. The faces around me, the bearded guy, the black-haired woman, they're all so human, and their ugliness fills me with a sense of dread. I'm one of them, after all, marching into this somber procession, and we hate it here. The bearded man, the young girl, the group of middle-aged women. None of us is having fun. The thunder of the fireworks grows into a tempest. I can feel my heartbeat increasing. It's okay, I guess. If no one's having fun, it's something we have in common. The guy with gray hair, the women, her kids, the man in sports jacket. Fat man, fat kid, 6 fat men, teenage girl, a pram. Even in the baby's eyes there's a dull glimmer of sadness, but he's lucky they let him live. Okay, next sentence. The procession comes to a halt. I hear 2 bottles being popped close by, then another, and then suddenly 8 in a row. There's a huge clock hanging on the stage. The crowd's sliding closer and closer together. Matt's focus found a passage. Bernard seems to hesitate, and the pressure of the crowd concentrates on the center of my back and increases, and breaks through. My pocket vibrates twice. Shaved necks, body odor, another loud bang close by. Nobody looks around anymore. And after some time, the voices grow silent. All their faces turn in the same direction. And for a split second, I experience how the whole crowd comes together in anticipation. Involuntarily, an extreme tension takes hold of me. The hairs on the back of my neck rise up. And for the first time in ages, I feel like I'm part of a larger whole. I've been impatient lately, so selfish, unforgiving. I should give them all another chance. And in unison, the crowd begins to count down. 10, they chant. Takes me by surprise. 9. I'm disoriented. Frenetically, I try to catch. 8. The beat, but I keep missing. 8, I try. 7. They're ahead of me. There's a secret dynamic. 6. I can't keep up. It resonates past me. 5. And I'm alone again. It's too late now. 4. It slipped from my grasp and makes me place. 3. 4. That's it. It's time. Something needs to happen. 2. Now, something all-devouring. 1. And at 0, everything dissolves into fire and cries of jubilation. Hundreds of corks fly into the air as the crowd breaks apart into shards, and suddenly as it came together, the vacant faces that I encountered on the way here have distorted. They're grinning now, laughing. feel the torrent of hands coming down on my shoulders. Lars, Bernard, the annoying Mozart guy. I'm swept away in a dance of joy. The igniting sky embraces me. This is so loud. But I feel like I've finally awoken. Something that has been creeping inside of me for a while now is rearing its head in full glory. It's obvious that I've waited long enough, that I've given them enough warnings. I can no longer base the purpose of my dull existence on an empty friendship. Pretty girls are the childish stories that I conjure up to make it all a little more bearable. These things that are happening to me, I haven't been imagining them. They're succeeding each other more and more rapidly. The little hints, the signals, it's finally time. Because no one else sees them, not my peers, nor my professors, nor the people around me. I'm the only one capable of understanding it all, the way it really is. I'm the only one who can really do something about it. Only I can change it all. Something hatching in the land reclaimed. I feel it now, stronger than ever. A great time is upon us. You just went from like super depressed to frickin', I don't know who's a really good speech guy, person. I don't know. Okay. Well. Okay, I am going to definitely leave it here. Um, Hit the like and subscribe button. I will see all of you guys in the next video. Yeah. Peace.